Hey, welcome back to the Big Gay Overalls podcast. It's been a hot minute. It's been about a month since I've done an episode, and it's been an interesting month. If I'm 185% honest, it's been a challenge. Like at times, I haven't felt like I had anything to say, but I did have things to say. But I didn't want to come on and record a podcast just for the sake of doing it, just for having content out there. So I sat with it and I gave myself permission to be okay with not having to record an episode. But I am back today with an episode. I've got some thoughts. I've had a big month. Like I released my book, Burn the Script, which is out doing great things, and I'm very excited by that. And grateful to everyone who's bought it, given me comments, done all that stuff. Super grateful for that. So that's been busy. That's occupied my brain and developing some stuff with that and creating some content and just dealing with like getting a book out there into the world, I guess. And building a couple other projects, including my Authenticity in Action podcast, which just kicked off last week. I'm about to upload episode 2. We're talking about what does authenticity look like to anybody. Like I've got some high profile people, I've got some sports people, I've got some coaches, I've got some mentors, I've got teachers, mums, dads, lined up to jump on this podcast and talk about how they define authenticity and how they actually live it. Because, authenticity is a doing word. It's a verb, not a vibe, which is the tagline of the podcast. So please, would love it if you could go over and subscribe and give it a listen. Would appreciate it so much. So anyway, where have I been? I've been doing work and doing creative stuff. Big Gay Overalls is still my baby. It's still my place in the world where I can be completely unfiltered me. And I'm grateful to all of you for granting me that space and granting me your ears and your eyeballs. Because in my other versions, I'm no less authentic, but I still need to change the way the message is framed for a more general population, if that makes sense. But Big Gay Overalls, like you guys, you're my people. You're my tribe. You're my people who get it. And I think today's topic, I don't even have a topic for today. There's something I want to talk through. You'll get it. You'll get it. So today is the 22nd of April that I'm recording this, and it's mine and Sharon's 2-year wedding anniversary. Yay! Such an amazing day. And, we were reflecting this morning as we watched our wedding video back, as we do, there are moments of sadness for people who are no longer physically with us anymore, like her mum and her godfather and whatnot. And also other senses of loss for people who are no longer as close to us as they were at that time. But also still being reminded of the amazing joy that came with that period and in our wedding day and what we wanted from that and what we wanted it to be. And it was such an amazing day. And in the last 2 years, we've gone through immense journey with, losing her mum and her godfather and other family stuff and my mum getting Alzheimer's and that sort of stuff. So it's not like we've had rainbows and unicorn at farts all day, every day. It's just been, hey, we're here. It's been a journey. And, I had some struggles at the end of last year when the company that I was working for, US coaching company, I had to let that go. I had to leave them because they owe me about 4 months of pay, still do, which is tough when you invest your heart and your soul into someone else's mission, I guess, and then they turn out to be not the people that you thought they were and don't treat you the way that you expected to be. So that's hard. I had grief and loss around that and adjustment. So we've had, been through the gamut of emotions the last couple of years. And July will be 5 years that we've been, together, which is amazing. And, for me, out of my 50 years of life, that's the best 5 years of my life that I consciously know, in one, even despite challenges but in our relationship, we always find something to laugh at or laugh about. Like one of the wedding photos I shared today is like we're standing at the altar, the celebrant's there, and my head is back. I am roaring with laughter at something. I cannot even remember what it was now, but it's just very funny, clearly. But that's what we do. We laugh. We can be silly even when things are not amazing for us. And I think that's one of our strengths. And we do everything as a team. Like, okay, you're a bit down. What do you need? And what can I give? And so that whole Brene Brown thing is like, it's not always 50-50. Sometimes it's like, hey, I got, 20%. That's cool. I can chip in, 70%. We'll be 10% short today, but we'll still be further. And it's just about making it work for the other. And that's been one of the strengths of our relationships. But today, and I know I've spoken about it before, but I'll speak about it in a bit more depth and breadth in this episode as it goes on. But, I have a very complicated relationship with my mother. And now her having Alzheimer's does not fucking help that at all. She's, gets stuck in things, and she always has assumed that the world's out to get her and assumes the worst. And so then who's the person that gets that? It's the person who's standing right beside her, and that'll be me. And so we already had, a couple of we had the big blow up with her car, which I think I talked about. And then I've talked about like the other day, she made some comment about not having any cash. And I said, well, you haven't been to the bank for a while. I said, I haven't touched it. And she says, oh, well, I'm not sure about that. Like, I am the last person that would rip this woman off. Like, I take care of all of her stuff. But, and, this week it's been a bit funny with her. Like my sister, one of them, is taking her away for a week, which, yay, great. She gets to go away. B, we had no notice. We've had a couple of days, so I've got to work out stuff with my ex-husband and our schedules to go and help look after our dog because he's got work and the dog's used to a certain routine. So, shit, thanks for that. And she gets to swing into town, be the great white hero, take mum out for a holiday and, not actually be here to deal with any of the tin tacks of the stuff and make the decisions. So when the decision is made that, it's time for mum to go into care, I'm going to be the muppet that has to have that conversation and be the bad guy that put her in there. So there's all that stuff. And it's challenging. Like I'm really challenged in this space a lot of time. And Sharon has been amazing. But it's challenge. It's hard because throughout my whole entire life, she's never given me what I sought, which was that validation and that unconditional love. And I was just chatting on my other podcast actually to a guy who I know through CrossFit and coach, and we're talking about when people have difficulties in relationships, and he summed it up in a way that I hadn't really thought about it. And he talked about it from the perspective of he believes that if people grow up in an environment where they don't feel unconditional love from their parents, then nothing ever fully connects for them going through life. And I sort of sat there and went, fuck. That was me. That's true. And because, I spent a lot of my life fighting battles and always having a chip on my shoulder and whatnot until I got to a space where I was unconditionally loved and accepted because I never got that from either of my parentals. And probably the closest I ever felt that was with my grandparents. But yeah, so I never, ever, ever really honestly felt that. And, Sharon's aunties, two in particular, but have shown me what unconditional love from a family is. And at first I was a bit like this, I've never experienced this before, like what the fuck? But like it's amazing to have. And, when you can feel that and that you have that, like you can get through anything, right? Because I had this epiphany a couple of weeks ago on the golf course. I was playing in a playoff for a championship. Things weren't going great. And I was standing there and I had this thought to myself that it doesn't matter if you don't win today because Sharon still is going to love you. And these other people are going to love you. It doesn't change anything. And I used to get very angry and a lot of pressure on myself when I play golf, and I still get irritated at myself, don't get me wrong, just because I have expectations and what I think I'm capable of, but that's an aside. But the real anger and the frustration came from, I was always trying to prove a point and prove my worth. Then when I had that epiphany, like, I don't need to prove my worth. These people already accept me and love me. It's like, makes sense. So as someone who's not grown up in that environment, to suddenly have that, and you're like, well, even with the struggles of mum, Sharon's like, listen, you need some time out from me, mum. I'll go and take care of the shopping with her. I'll do X, Y, Z. You take a break. So we work together as a team. We really do work very well as a team. But today, mum didn't come to our wedding. She, like, the day that I told her we're engaged, she just sort of shrugged her shoulders like, what do you want me to say? And it's a real dichotomy for me because she loves Sharon to bits. She's way nicer to Sharon than what she is to me. She has more fun with Sharon than she has with me. She's more engaging. All of these things that she never, ever, ever is with me, or rarely. And there's always a dig with me. There's always a barb. There's always a backhanded something. So I made the decision early in the piece she wasn't going to come to the wedding. I wasn't going to invite her because then it becomes about her. And because she never asked any questions, she was never interested. She was always nice to Sharon and always interested in what she's doing. But she didn't ask anything about the wedding. So I was like, just going to tell her we eloped. Small crowd, we eloped. And to this day, 2 years later, she has seen 2 wedding photos, one of me in my suit, and she's seen one, only that one. Because she hasn't asked. She wasn't interested. She's not interested in anything I have to say, really, which is really interesting when you're trying to have a conversation and a relationship with someone that you are a caregiver for, and they just don't seem to realize that. But anywho, today, did the shopping, and I bought flowers for Sharon for our anniversary. And mum made some comment about the flowers. I said, well, they're for Sharon. It's our wedding anniversary. And she just replied, that was it. And I was like, for fuck's sake, you can't even come up with a socially acceptable insert response here. Like, that's nice, or anything like that. Nothing. Because a couple of months ago, we were there, we're sorting through some of our old photos and cross stitches, and there was a wedding photo of me and my husband and whatnot at the time, my ex-husband now. And I said, we can chuck this out. Mum said, I don't want to keep that. I'm like, why? I'm not married to him anymore. He's also moved on. Why keep that photo? Because I'm pretty sure she hasn't got any of the photos of when my sister and her then husband got married and then busted up. So it's very, weird for me. It's very hard. And today she comes out with, and then proceeded to have a conversation about the fucking weather. And I'm like, I was so irritated. Like, I texted one of my best friends and I said, she needs to be grateful that cars don't have an ejection facility right now, because I would have popped her ass right out of that car. I could just visualize that door flinging open and her, see ya, out. Because it's such a momentous day for us. Like, we are surrounded by love. Like, I did the obligatory Facebook post, and all these people who were involved, and even people who haven't been involved, have written lovely comments and quite supportive. Yet the people that we assume should be the happiest for us when we are the happiest and the safest and the healthiest they just don't show up. And I know that I don't have to take care of mum. I don't have to do the things I'm doing for her. It's my values that allow me to make that choice to do that. But fuck, it's hard. And to be honest, some days, if I think to myself, if I went round there tomorrow to take her shopping and she hadn't woken up, literally permanently had not woken up, it's not the worst thing in the world. And some of you may be shocked by that or think that makes me a horrible person. It's not that I want her dead, but I think that's where she would be happiest at the end of the day. No more stress, no more pain, no more anything. Her life has been hard. So, and she is going to hate, as this Alzheimer's progress, what's coming next. She will hate it. On some level, there will be some knowing. She will hate it. So, that was today. So I guess what's been rumbling around in my brain is about how, like, Lisa, 5 years ago, before I met Sharon, because I met her in July, and then Lisa 10 years before that, so 15 years ago, Lisa did not have any concept that the life that I'm now living was even remotely possible. It wasn't even a blip on my radar, this might be nice one day. It just wasn't even there. So, and you're like, that's like, to see how I've even evolved in the last 5 years, and, you know, talking to these guests I'm having on the Authenticity in Action podcast, and reflecting on growth and changes and steps you've taken to do the work. Like authenticity, like gratitude, it involves work. If you really want to, you know, get below that surface level and make it meaningful and make it stick. So, like, I didn't think that it was possible. I didn't even believe that this sort of stuff existed in real life, that I could come home and be 100% accepted for who I am. Nothing's a failure. Like, you know, when things don't go to plan or something doesn't take off, and to have the freedom to pursue what makes you happy rather than ticking the boxes. I did not think that that was possible. I didn't even think about it, because it wasn't even on no realm of my existence thought that this life even existed. So now I'm in this life, and I still, like, I can't believe the life that we have. And Sharon and I always talk about how much we love our life and the life we are creating and building. And I think I've spoken before about how we're quite intentional about curating our life, who we have in our circles, who we spend our time with, what we spend our energy on, and what matters to us. What are our values? What aligns with us? And what's worth our attention, and what's, you know. And I was talking on this earlier podcast about the fact that once you can be, you know who you are, you know who your values are, you can see someone else's stuff and you don't have to get involved in it. You can just leave them with it. Go, okay, I don't need to make you like me. I don't need to make you agree with me. I don't need to be right here. I'm just going to leave you with it. That's cool. That's your story. That's your narrative. You go do it. I've got mine. And then we both go about our day. There doesn't have to be any animosity or angst or convincing people to our point of view. So I think that gives us freedom to just be, which is, you know, key. So where am I going with this now? For me, like, it's a conflicting space sometimes, because I have so much joy and immense love. And on one hand, I say that we have the freedom to say you can just leave them with it. Just that's you. That's cool. I'm just going to leave you with that. I don't have to take it. Don't have to own it. However, there is still the grief that comes from not having these relationships that, you know, basically I've wanted for 50 years. And logically, academically, even emotionally, I know that's not possible. That's never going to be. And whilst I say I never thought this life was possible, I know 100% that life is not possible. That, like, it's beyond my mother's emotional capabilities to do that. She's done no work. She's done no accessing of anything. The world happens to her. There's no ownership, no accountability, no nothing. She can justify a way out of anything. So she has not evolved, and she will not evolve. So that will never happen. But it's okay to still feel that grief for that moment and go, you know, would it have been nice to have her at our wedding? Sure. Would it have been nice to have, you know, the wedding photos with her and Sharon's mum? Sure. But we didn't. And that was a choice. I nearly weakened, like I sort of half weakened the week before the wedding. I thought, oh, maybe if my uncle could bring her, but then he was having surgery. So that was the universe saying to me, no, like, no, we're not, this is not lining up so that you can just do what you feel like you need to do. Like, it's not happening. So that's a tricky space, is like immense joy, satisfaction, contentment, peace, love, all those good things. But then you have this other, like, grief, I guess, or loss. And it's hard because it's not like I don't see her, or, you know, and the reality is there is, I'm going to say there's no one in my bloodline of family that has been overly overjoyed with this life decision. They're all perfectly happy when I married a man. And it's not that they're homophobic. It's not that they're anything like that. It's just they can't be happy for somebody who's being happy because they don't see the balance. So I have no relationship really with my sisters, and I choose to keep it that way. I have an uncle. They're being quite good about it, but I don't see them all the time. So there's probably only one. You know, I used to be very, very close with my cousin, or mum's cousin, so he's my second cousin. And then once I came out to him, he's quite religious, and he's met Sharon. We've gone to some concerts. It's been okay. He's always very gracious, very kind, but just things have changed. Like, I don't get invited to things. He doesn't include me in things like he used to. So, you know, I don't have that family network now. My real family are the ones that I have chosen. So my friends who are in my smaller circle, and Sharon's family now, her extent of her, like her aunties, have just embraced me because I make her happy, and that's enough for them. And I'm a good human. That's enough for them. That's all they need. And they see how good we are together when they catch up. It's not just a Facebook thing. So it's conflicting. And it doesn't take away from what I have now just because I have those feelings, and I've had to be gentle with myself and go, it's okay to still feel that. It doesn't take away from what I have or make me ungrateful for what I have now. 100% not. But it's still that conflicting space. And I know there are those of you who listen to this podcast who are where I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And you're struggling with the idea of acceptance and, you know, would people accept you, and how do you navigate this space, and how do you, you know, find a level of happiness and contentedness. And you can have that. Like, I'm here to say that there can be happy endings on the other side, even with some of the hard stuff that still continues, that I still have to navigate. And you just have to keep coming back to yourself, coming back to you, what matters to you, and navigating for you, like, what are your values? Who am I as a person? What makes me happy? And then once you've got that foundation set, and that's some of the work I do with my authenticity blueprint, is let's set the foundation. Like, you cannot live authentically if you don't know who you are. You don't know what your values are. Like, I had to go through a process of unpacking to figure out what my values really were, not what I thought they should be. And that's the work. And once you can start to build the foundation, like, I know who I am, and when I come home to me, this is what it looks like. Then you can go, okay, this is what me is. I'm okay with me. So then I can put me out to the world and start to live those in action rather than just words on a page. And that's the point we want to get to. So if you are stuck in that space before and you don't know that anything's possible, everything feels hard, come home to yourself. Figure out who you are, and it makes it way easier to create boundaries and navigate the world as you want to be in it. How do I want to show up in the world today? How do I want to be? Who do I want to be? And then, okay, well, I want to be this sort of person. Well, what does this sort of person do? How do I do that? So by me peeling back and figuring out my values and what matters to me and whose opinion matters to me, when some of this stuff happens, like with mum, it can have a little bit less weight because I'm like, where does your opinion matter? Like it still stings, like it's still, because you have that grief and I have that unresolved, which is never going to be resolved. So I need to work on that. But by coming back to my values and what mine and Sharon's values as a couple are, and our relationship and what matters, and then looking around at the people I do have in my corner and getting my validation from there, then that stuff doesn't matter as much. Still stings, but I don't have to hang on to it and carry it forward. Today, it probably just dug in a bit deeper, given that it's our wedding anniversary and stuff, but I've thought about it. I've talked to all you about it. This is my little therapy session. And tried to navigate. So Lisa 15 years ago would have given her right arm to be feeling like this now, but didn't know she could. So even with all the hard stuff, it's still worth it. And I did the work to figure out who I was and what I wanted and to be okay with me and accept me as me. That has then let me, lots of me's here, let me go out into the world as I want to be. And then that filters through anything that I don't want. Just it's the little net that catches everything. Leave you with that. I don't have to fight that battle anymore. I don't have to prove to you. If you don't like my podcast, that's cool. There's 1,000 gazillion other podcasts. Go find one you like. Have a nice life. I don't have to fight the battle and go, yeah, but mine's good because my voice is valid. You don't like my book? That's cool. Go find another book. Read what you want. Like, do what you want. Like, I don't have to force someone to like me because I'm looking for that connection, because I have that. But that started with me giving it to myself, not what Sharon did, not what anyone else did, with me giving it to myself. So if you're in that messy, icky stage, find out who you are. Unpack that first. If you want to chat about it, reach out. Like, all my links are down in the bio and not the bio, the show notes. Just reach out. No pitch, no whatever. No pressure, no pitch. Just like bounce it around. I'm happy for that. That's why I've created these spaces. I've created the Facebook group and this podcast. Like, I know how powerful it can be when you come home to yourself and you can be authentic with yourself. And if I could box it up and just give it to everybody, then I bloody well would. So if you feel like you're not going to get out the other side, like you're still like where I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, then understand there is a way forward, but it starts with you coming home to you first. Anywho, I feel like that's just a bit of a general sort of updatey ramble today. I'm not really sure. Please do me a huge solid. Please subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already. Over on YouTube, on the platforms, and also Authenticity in Action. That would mean the absolute bomb to me to get that up and running, because I think that to a broader population, there's a lot of value in some of those conversations I'm going to be having. Also putting the shout out, if you see my content on the socials, please repost and share. I love the comments. I love the engagement, because I just love talking to you guys, but it would help me out a great deal if you would share it so that more people who are stuck get to see it. I would really appreciate that. And guests, I would love to tell your stories. And by tell your stories, it's not air your dirty laundry. Like, just come on. Let's have a chat about your life. Tell me your story, because that's what I'm here to do, is share stories. It's not just about Lisa banging on about her same old, same old. If it's not this podcast and you don't want to talk about like your coming out story, that's cool. Let's jump on the authenticity podcast and tell me about your version of authenticity, what that looks like for you or what you want it to look like. Either way, I want to tell you stories. Reach out. Send me an email, lisa@biggayoverallspodcast.com. Hit me up on any of the socials or Lisa Kirkman Coaching on Instagram or LK_authenticity coach or authenticity_in_action_podcast on Instagram. Didn't think that one through. I may revise that one. Seriously, reach out. I would love to chat. I'd love to have you on the podcast or podcasts to share your story. And I have got some of the amazing prior guests I've had on this podcast. Going to jump on over to the Authenticity in Action podcast as well. But there's space for you everywhere. And if you just feel like that it's all a bit crazy making, just reach out. Let's have a chat. I'm always available to bounce some ideas around. Like I said, no pitch, no pressure. I'm not selling you anything. If I sell you something, then or if I go into those calls wanting to sell you something, that's not helping either of us. If you decide you want to continue coaching with me, great. But if you don't, that's cool too. But it's just a conversation. Don't be afraid to have the conversation. I'm not selling you anything. Okay, legends. I promise it won't be another 4 weeks. I'm going to get Sharon back on. I've got to get her on the Authenticity in Action, and we'll have more to talk about. So I'll see you on the next one, guys. Take it easy.